Hey, what is up, Blue Crew? Hope you guys are doing well. I know it's been a minute since we've done a Blue Crew live, and so I wanted to take a few minutes today as we are gearing up for the 10/10 rallies, or the nationwide rallies on October the 10th. And I wanted to take just a few minutes. I won't take up too much of your time today, but I wanted to take just a few minutes just to share from my heart. Unfortunately, Troy couldn't be with me today, but did want to share from just our heart a little bit and talk about why these rallies are so important. And in order to do that, we need to understand the three stages that we're going through as far as our law enforcement and just as a nation, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right on into it. So there's going to be three stages three different stages that our law enforcement is going to go through, and three different areas in which we're under attack. Okay, the first stage is what I call the 3Ds. Okay, the first stage is to defund. Okay, so departments all over the nation are already being defunded. Okay, as a matter of fact, we've talked about this it was about a month and a half ago. We talked about how Austin, Texas, here in Texas, was defunded. $150 million. It was a third of their budget. Okay, it's happening. It's happening all over the nation. But that's stage one. Stage one is defund. And then right now, as we speak, there are people pleading with the UN to disarm. Okay, so stage one is defund. Okay, stage two is to disarm. Okay, there is a movement right now of people looking to disarm our law enforcement. And why this is so important is because we believe that law enforcement is the glue that holds this country together. Okay, without law enforcement, there's no one to enforce the law. There's no law and order. Okay, and so we need to understand the sign of the times in which we're in. We need to understand that unlike any other time in history, right, there's never been a time like this in the United States of America. Right, you can go back to the hippie era of the 60s and 70s. You can go back through the World War II era. As a matter of fact, let's talk about World War II for a second. That generation, right, they were actually called the greatest generation. They recognized that there was this Nazi movement, okay, and this Nazi movement was not slowing down. Okay, they recognized that they had a choice. They could either stand idly by and watch Hitler continue to overtake Europe and eventually want to make his way over here to the United States, or they could finally step up and do something about it. Now, I'm not going to get into the history of it. We know that the United States didn't enter World War II until the bombing at Pearl Harbor. And we know that Pearl Harbor was used as an excuse by Roosevelt to enter the war, because Roosevelt made a promise that we would not enter the war unless we absolutely had to, unless absolutely necessary. And so we won't talk about that side of it, but the whole point is we have to understand the times in which we're living, okay? We have to understand that right now we are on the verge of living in a post-America America. Okay? Think about that for a second. We're on the verge of living in a post-America America. And what's the one thing that you got to do in order to make that happen? Okay? You got to get rid of law enforcement. So what are the stages to that? Again, stage one, you got to defund departments. And after you start defunding departments, the next stage is to disarm. And once you've disarmed law enforcement, the third step is to dismantle law enforcement, to dismantle police departments, to dismantle law enforcement agencies. And once that happens, what do you think is going to happen? Either there's going to be no law and order, okay, and it's just going to be chaos on the streets, or the federal government's going to have to step in. It's going to be martial law. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Super, super important that we understand the times in which we're living, okay? Now, the other thing that's important to understand, and I've talked about this at our live events from the stage, and that is that the silent majority is the problem. Silent majority is the problem. And so that's why we call ourselves the unsilent majority. That's why we say that we can remain silent no more. No more. We're done. We're done being quiet. We're done being silent. But that only means something, if you recognize the times that we're in, because we're not talking about, we're not talking about doing all of the small things. Now, here's what I want you to hear my heart on this. And the small things that we do, guys, they're important. Guys, the small rallies that we do, they're important. Whenever we put a blue light bulb on our front porch, it's important. Whenever you're part of a group like this, it's important. Okay, it absolutely is important. Whenever you can stand side by side and you can lock arms with people and show your support for law enforcement, it's important. But here's something else that is also important to understand, is that doing those things isn't going to change the way that the direction our country is headed. Okay, it's not going to undo the legislation that's been done that is defunding departments. Okay, you need to understand there's a very small group of people. We believe that. We said that from the very beginning. There's that saying that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. There's a very small group of people that's making a lot of noise. And the noise that they're making is leading to legislation being written. God, I need you guys to understand this. The noise that this small group of people, and if you haven't done so yet, and I've said this for months, to look up something called the illusory effect. The illusory effect, okay? It's basically whenever you're exposed so much to a lie, and it's all you ever see, eventually you start to believe it. And that's what we're seeing right now. Why? Because of this small group of people who are actually victims of the illusory effect themselves, whether it be generational, whether it be because they're just paying attention to the wrong people. But either way, there's a small group of people that are making all this noise. And as a result, legislation is being passed that is defunding police departments. And so not only do we have Leos losing their jobs, it doesn't matter what city they live in. It doesn't matter if they live in Austin. These are good people that are losing their jobs because their departments are being defunded. These are human beings. These are fellow Americans. It doesn't matter what city they live in. Okay? Not only are they losing their jobs, they're losing their livelihood, but the public is now much less safe. Okay, and these cities that are being defunded, okay, those cities are now less safe because there's less law enforcement, there's less boots on the ground. Okay, and so it's very important that we understand the times in which we live, guys. Very important. Go ahead and come in. It's very important that we understand the times in which we live. Thank you so much. You were so awesome. We need to understand the times in which we live. Stage 1, defund. Stage 2, disarm. There is a movement right now. Look it up. There is a movement right now. The Floyd family has actually been pleading with the United Nations to disarm law enforcement. Once law enforcement is disarmed, the last stage is to dismantle. So what can we do, guys? What can we do? I mean, I want to encourage you, continue to put the blue light bulb on your front porch. Continue to do that. Continue to go and feed police departments. Continue to show your support that way, because those officers need to know that you have their six, okay? But we got to do more. Guys, everything that we've done up to this point hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. Legislation is still being written that's defunding police departments. There's still a movement to disarm police departments and law enforcement agencies. And once we do that, once we get there, guys, they dismantle law enforcement agencies across the country. What does America look like? Guys, we got to understand the times in which we live. Okay, there is a movement, there is an enemy that is looking to destroy these United States of America. So what does that have to do with October the 10th? Because the whole point, okay, for those of you that are new to the group, we did nationwide rallies back in July. On July the 18th of this year, we did nationwide rallies. And And we thought it was a great success, but we had some locations, right? Let's talk about safety for a second. We had some locations where only 1 or 2 people showed up to the rally. That's dangerous, guys. That's very dangerous. Now, we all know that in order to win this battle, right? And it's not a physical battle, okay? I want to make sure I'm crystal clear about that. We are not a violent group. Bridge the Blue is not a violent organization. When we talk about a battle, okay, it's not really metaphorical, but there is a fight to save this country right now. And if we're going to win this fight, guys, we got to do more. We got to do more. And it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be convenient. And sometimes it's going to require that we be willing to travel. Now, I understand. And here's a reason why I wanted to get on camera and share this. Because I understand not everybody can travel. I get it. And you could be sick, it could be elderly. We understand, okay? And so whenever we talk about being willing to get out of your comfort zone, we're talking to those that are more than able, right? To those that are more than able to get up off the couch and do something. And sometimes it means driving 12 hours and crossing 4 state lines without very many resources like we did, okay? We had people that flew in from other states to be part of what we're doing, because that's how much, like, they understand the times in which we live. And so for October the 10th, we wanted to have 1 rally in every state. Now, we have some states that have multiple rallies. California is one of them. California is a pretty big state. But the whole idea is to have the entire state migrate and travel to 1 location so that we can show the numbers. If you imagine this, guys, imagine in all 50 states, from coast to coast, north, south, east, and west, 1 rally per state, between 2,000 and 3,000 or more people from all over the state, all convening at that 1 location. Do you think that we might catch the weapons of mass distraction? Weapons of mass distraction. That's what I call the mainstream media. Do you think that we might catch the mainstream media's attention then? If there are tens of thousands of people gathered across the country at the same time, because these rallies are happening at 1 o'clock Central, okay? So if you're on the East Coast, that'll be 2 o'clock your time. If you're in Mountain Time, okay, that you're an hour behind us, so it'll be noon your time. And if you're Pacific, it'll be your 2 hours behind us. It'll be 11 o'clock in the morning. But simultaneously, from coast to coast, we stand in 1 accord. We lock arms all over the nation, all across the nation, and we stand up and we let our voices be heard. Rallies with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people in every single state or more, and 2,000, 3,000 or more people in every single state. Do you think that the world can shut us out then? No. So that's why October the 10th is so important. So I want to encourage you, okay? I want to encourage you. If there's a rally near you, maybe there's not a rally in your state because we didn't have anybody step up to the plate in that state. Maybe there's not a rally in your state, but is there a state maybe next door, right? Is there a state close to you? And yeah, maybe it's a 6-hour drive. Here's the thing, guys, is that our Leos put their lives on the line. You know, they wake up and they put on that uniform and they put on that badge and they kiss their spouse and their kids goodbye, sometimes for the last time. Other times they don't know if it's going to be the last time, but they go out and they risk their lives for us. Can we not drive 5 or 6 hours for them? Now, again, if you're elderly or you're sick, this obviously doesn't apply to you. But if you're able, if you're an able-bodied person, can you not do? And maybe money's an issue, guys. We actually had people fundraise to come to our event in Conroe on 9/11. We had people fundraise to come to Missouri because they wanted to be there. They're willing to do whatever it takes. And so I want to talk about this last thing I want to talk about here for a second. Okay, we've already talked about the 3 stages, and just as a quick review, there's 3 stages to this thing. One is to defund law enforcement. Okay, that's the first step, and it's happening. It's happening. Second stage is to disarm law enforcement. There's a movement right now. Again, There's a movement right now to disarm law enforcement. And once law enforcement agencies nationwide are disarmed, the next stage is dismantle. And law enforcement is the glue that holds this country together, guys. Without law enforcement, there's no one to enforce the laws, which means it's going to be chaos. Or the federal government's going to have to step in. Okay, and we're going to have martial law. In other words, we're going to be living in a post-America America. Okay, and so here's the last thing I want to talk about here, and I want to, this is something that I talk about a lot in another community I run called Hope Dealers. But guys, there's 3 levels of commitment. Okay, the first level is I'll try. Have you ever needed to move? And you call a bunch of friends and say, hey, I'm moving on Saturday, I could use your help. And they say, oh, I'll try. And they don't show up. Because I'll try is the lowest form of commitment. It's the lowest level. I'll try is a future projection of failure. As a matter of fact, my papa used to say that the word try is an acronym. And it stands for tomorrow resembles yesterday. Tomorrow resembles yesterday. Try is a future projection of failure. It's the absolute lowest level of commitment. And to put this into perspective, I like to tell stories, and so let me tell you a story that kind of goes along with these levels of commitment. Okay, let's say that you're getting off of work and you need to get home to your spouse. You go outside, you open, you unlock your car door, you open the door, you sit down, you turn on the ignition, and it doesn't start. Car doesn't start. Well, you tried, so you pick up the phone and you call your spouse and you say, hey babe, tried to get home to you, sorry, tried. That's what I'll try looks like. It's a future projection of failure. Okay. Second level of commitment is I'll do my best. Now this is a much higher level of commitment, and the thing about people that have this level of commitment, they'll legitimately give it their best shot. And this is what I'll do my best. This is what that looks like. Okay, so same scenario. You go outside. You're getting off of work. You go outside. You unlock your car. You open up the car door. You sit in. You turn in your key to the ignition, and you try to turn on your vehicle, and the car doesn't start. And so, you get out. You pop the hood. You try to see what's going on. You're not sure what you're looking for, but there's nothing that looks out of place. I mean, you're not a mechanic, but again, you're going to do the best that you can. Nothing looks out of place. It says you have plenty of gas, but maybe your dashboard's lying to you. And so you go and you grab some rope and you stick it down in your gas tank and you pull it back up, and you've got plenty of gas. So you're like, okay, well, let me see if I can get an Uber, right? And so you pull out your phone, open the Uber app, and there's no Uber in your area, or maybe the cell phone tower's down, so you can't even, you have no data, so you can't even call an Uber. So you call some friends, and nobody can come pick you up. There's not a tow truck that's in the area. That there was a wreck on the other side of town, and they're all over there. So you're doing everything that you can. You're giving it your best shot, but at the end of the day, you miss the mark, and there's no way you're getting home to your family. So you say, hey, babe, I'm sorry. I've done everything I can think of. I did my best, but I'm not going to get home to you tonight. That is that level of commitment. I'll do my best. Now here's the only problem with I'll do my best. Now again, on the positive side, people that say I'll do my best, they do give it their best shot. Here's the problem with I'll do my best. What happens when your best isn't good enough? What happens when your best just isn't good enough, doesn't get the job done? And that's where this third level of commitment comes in. And this third level of commitment is I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do whatever it takes, ethically. We're not talking about being unethical, okay? But I'll do whatever it takes. That means that come hell or high water, I'm gonna get home. If I gotta hitchhike, if I gotta catch a ride, no matter what, if I gotta beg on the street, it doesn't matter. I have no pride. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get home to my family, because that's my commitment to them. It doesn't matter how long it takes, doesn't matter how difficult it is. I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna get home, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get home to my family. So my question to you, Blue Crew, is what is your level of commitment? Is it I'll try? Is it that future projection of failure? Or maybe your level of commitment is a little bit higher. Maybe your level of commitment is, you know what? I'll do my absolute best. That's awesome, and I commend you for that. My question is, Blue Crew, is what happens when your absolute best just isn't good enough? Or will you have that third level of commitment that says, you know what, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll drive 5 hours. I'll drive 10 hours if I have to. I'll fundraise to get the money to go. I'll do whatever I got to do because I recognize where we're at. I recognize the sign of the times in which we live. I recognize those 3 Ds. I recognize that right now law enforcement is already being defunded, and the next step is to disarm, and the next step after they're disarmed is to dismantle, because I recognize where we're at. And so if it's to be, it's up to me. I'm going to accept some responsibility, and I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, whatever it takes to make this a success and to get the mainstream media's attention and to let the world know that we're not going to be silent, that we're not going to just be status quo anymore, but that we're going to stand up, we're going to rise up, we're going to let our voices be heard. What is your level of commitment to that, Blue Crew? What is your level of, that is why October the 10th is so important. So I want to ask you, I want to plead with you to lock arms with us and get to a rally on October the 10th. We must reverse all the stuff that's been done. We must reverse the legislation. We must get the attention. We must let the world know that we're not going to go quietly while our nation is taken over by people that don't have our best interests at heart. And we need to let the world know that come November, on election day, we need to let the world know that we're going to be voting, putting our votes with candidates that support our men and women in blue, that support our heroes in blue, because they recognize the value in law enforcement, because they value law and order. And so I want to encourage you guys to find a rally. You can go to bridgetheblue.com/rally. You can search for a state near you. Search for your state, number one. And if your state doesn't have a rally in it, or you don't even see your state, because states that don't have rallies are not supposed to be visible. So if there's not a state in your rally, maybe you want to step up and be a rally captain. I would encourage you to do that. But maybe you're not able to be a rally captain for whatever reason. I would encourage you, find the state closest to you and see where that rally is. Reach out to that rally captain on every single event. Okay, we have the rally captain's contact information. They have their name and their email address. We're not putting their phone numbers out there, not unless they give us permission, but they have their email address. Send them an email and say, hey, I live about 6 or 7 hours away, but I want to be part of what you're doing. How can I serve? How can I help? That's bridgetheblue.com/rally. And then I also want to encourage you to get some Bridge the Blue shirts. You can go to bridgetheblue.com/merch, and we got hats, we got shirts, we have phone cases, and I can't show you my phone case because my phone's right there, but we got phone cases. We have a hoodie that you can get. And shipping is 100% free. And if you're on our Blue Crew email list, you already got a 20% off coupon. It's 20% off your entire first order. And so if you're not on our Blue Crew email list, you can go to bridgetheblue.com/silent no more. Get on our Blue Crew email list, and I'll send out another email in the next couple of days with another with that coupon code to give you 20% off your entire first order. Okay, so see if there's anything else that I'm missing before we jump off of here, guys. I really want to ask you to understand the times in which we live, guys. Understand that where we're at right now, there's a movement, of course, to defund. The next stage in living in a post-America America is when they start to disarm our law enforcement agencies, and then once they're disarmed, they can start to dismantle. Okay, and so we got to open our eyes. We got to wake up, and we got to understand that what we've been doing up to now hasn't been working. And the definition of insanity is to continue doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If we don't step up, and step out, if we don't recognize and understand the sign of the times in which we're currently living, then we're going to be headed towards a post-America America. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with that. I hope that you're encouraged. I hope that you're leaving here today inspired. As a matter of fact, I do want to take a moment just to pray. Okay, I want to take a moment just to pray. Yes, we're going to pray on our Blue Crew Live. So let's just go ahead and pray. Father God, I just thank you. I thank you for what you're stirring up in the hearts of your people. God, your word says that we're two or more gathered in your name, that you're right there in the midst. And God, I know that there's more than two people here on this Blue Crew Live or watching the replay. And your word also says that wherever your spirit is, there's freedom and there's liberty. So God, we thank you for that freedom. We thank you for that liberty. Even if we don't feel free, even if we don't feel your presence, that God, we don't live by feelings. We live by faith, and we stand on truth, the truth of your word. And so God, I just ask that you would stir up the hearts of everybody that's within the sound of my voice, that you would stir up their hearts. God, that the Holy Spirit, that you would embolden them with a boldness, God, a boldness that comes directly from you. And God, I pray that you would open blind eyes so that they could see, that you would open deaf ears so that they could hear and understand, and give them a heart to understand the times in which we live. And God, above all else, I just want to pray that you would bless each and every person that's here. God, I pray that you would bless them from the very top of their head to the soles of their feet. God, in every area, that they would be the head and not the tail, that they would be above and not beneath, and that everything they put their hand to prospers, God. And I pray above all else that your kingdom come and your will be done here in this moment, in this group, in this organization, and in the lives of each and every person here on this earth, just as it is in heaven. Just as it is in heaven, where there is no lack, where there is no hate, where there is no poverty, where there is no disease, where there is no sickness, where there is no fear, where there is no doubt, where there is no unbelief. But God, that's what we want here, that we could literally be conduits between heaven and earth, and we could experience your presence here and your freedom here. So God, we give you this time. We thank you, we praise you, we honor you, we glorify you. Thank you for what you're doing with our group. We don't have it all together, and we're not trying to be right, God. We're just trying to get it right. And so we ask that you continue to lead us and guide us in the direction that we would go. And I just thank you, praise you, and honor you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. With that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here. If you're just jumping on, I would encourage you to catch the replay. Let's get fired up about October the 10th. I hope you're fired up. I'm fired up. We're all fired up here at Bridge the Blue. And we are working on finalizing all of the locations for all of the rallies. And if you are a rally captain, be on the lookout. We are going to be announcing an orientation that we're going to do for you guys over Zoom. And so be looking for that. We are going to record it. We understand it's difficult sometimes to meet everybody's schedule. So we are going to record it, and we will have the replay available for those of you that can't make it. But we'd encourage you to make it live to that orientation as soon as we get that locked down on the schedule. We want to make sure you guys have everything that you need in order to have a successful rally. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.